Welcome into episode 115 of the At the Yard podcast. My guest today is none other than Cypress College head coach Anthony Hutting. And Huddy, appreciate you being on, man, making some time to come on and talk all things Cypress College baseball.
Les, I appreciate you having me on, man. Happy to be here. Looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's get the logistics out of the way. Happy New Year, happy holidays, all that stuff. Hope you had a good one there with the family and got a little time to relax a little bit.
Yeah, it was great. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, it was nice to be able to spend some time and quality time with the family, and that's always really nice time for us as baseball coaches, and because we know, now's the time of year where we're going, and we're not going to be stopping for a while. So, yeah, it was great to have some quality time.
So leading into the holidays, obviously you have your fall ball season. Like, take us through that. How'd you guys come out of that? How what was kind of your thoughts going into it? Let's start there, and then how it went for you guys, and then how you guys came out of it.
Yeah. I thought we had a really productive fall. Every year at our level, obviously, the turnaround time with how long we have players. We only have guys for a year or two, so we have a lot of new players in the program this year, and for us in the fall, it's really trying to identify the strengths and weaknesses of individual players, the strengths and weaknesses of our team, and really trying to do a great job of coaching them up and preparing them for the spring. And I thought we grew as a team. I thought a lot of guys took some really positive steps individually, and I'm looking forward to getting into getting into January, getting into the beginning part of the season, and continuing to work.
So you talk about kind of developing guys in the fall and using that as that platform. You guys are pretty young last year, right? A lot of freshmen, a lot of first year guys in your program. Maybe took some lumps there, and we'll get into that later. But how much of your roster this year is comprised of kind of first year guys, at the college level?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think last year we were really young, probably one of the youngest teams that we've had here in my time, and especially on the mound. And yeah, I think we had some struggles. We had some good and the bad and the ugly last year. But really, I think going into this fall, it was really great to see some guys take some really positive steps forward. And I think the experience that guys gained last year from coming in and competing right away and playing a lot right away will pay dividends hopefully this spring. But yeah, a lot of returning players this year. I think we have 20 sophomores on this team in comparison to like 10 or 12 last year. So it's older group for sure, and they're working hard at it and continuing to get better. And hopefully we continue to do that throughout the course of the spring.
I mean, I think in your time you've set the standard of what you have, right, in terms of expectations. But when you think about, hey, we got 20 sophomores coming back on our roster this year, does that elevate those expectations for you and the coaching staff, if not down to the players?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you have some of the experience coming back that we have on our team this year, the expectations are high, and they always are in our program. But I think just with some of the experience and hopefully some of the growth that happens that we've seen throughout the course of the fall, we're expecting our guys to go out and perform and play at a high level. And I think the expectations are going to be that way throughout the course of the spring for us. And I think our guys are excited about that. I think a lot of them are a lot more comfortable. Know what to expect a whole bunch more than they did last year. And I'm really looking forward to big years from a lot of individual players and hopefully for our team.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned earlier you guys were pretty young on the mound last year, but it seemed like your offense was really potent too, right? I mean, you guys scored 370 plus runs, hit over 325 as a team, 54 homers collectively. I mean, it sounds like the offense had a lot of good things going for it, and a couple of young guys again, near the top of those statistical categories for you guys.
Yeah, and certainly, last year, the offense wasn't a big issue for us. It was the strength of our team. We do return some guys who had big offensive years for us last year. That we're looking forward to hopefully continuing that. But yeah, I think from an offensive standpoint, we were pretty potent offensively. I feel like last year, but as the old saying goes, right? Pitching and defense are going to win, and that's where we didn't do a good enough job last year. And I think with some of the inexperience and youth that we had, on the mound last year, like I said, we've seen some really big positives from some guys that did get a lot of experience last year as true freshmen that are back, and looking forward to hopefully continuing that improvement.
You mentioned, that experience for the young guys last year. The OEC is one of the best conferences in America, in my opinion, when it comes to JUCO baseball. Granted, I haven't seen all of them, obviously, but just given the history, the tradition, the guys that have come out of this conference, you know, what is it about this conference? I mean, you guys are all seemingly, you know, after the same players, in a lot of senses. But it's like when there's a D1 bounce back, for example, I mean, there's only 3, 4 schools that kid's, calling when he's looking at JUCOs in this area, maybe, a half dozen. Like, hey, these are the programs. So, the conference as a whole is so deep and so strong. And, what is it about that? Is it the coaching? Is it just the location of it? Give us a little insight into the conference as a whole.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is, the Orange Empire Conference is, if not, the most competitive one in the state and in the country. At the very near the top of the list. And that's what makes it fun. I think that's what makes coaching in this conference, playing in this conference. That's what it's about. It's about coming and competing every single day. Because if you don't show up, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You're going to get your butt kicked, and that's what it's about. That's what fires me up to come every day and continue to get after it. And I think there's incredible coaches in this conference. I think there has been for a long, long time. And I think just the types of players, the types of coaches that are in this conference that comprise these coaching staffs is a major reason why you're seeing the competitiveness and the level that we're playing at, and the development of guys. And you're seeing every single year dozens of players from this conference leave, play Division I baseball, and make an impact on programs at that level. And I know for us, that's certainly what our objective is here, is to prepare our guys to really hit the ground running when they leave our program and transfer to the 4-year level. And I think the preparation that happens with that is really what our focus is every single day in the classroom, baseball field, weight room. And I think up and down the conference, that's been happening for a long, long time. And I think what I appreciate about competing in this conference is that you're doing it against great players, great coaches, people that I really respect, and that's what makes it fun.
Development seems to be like a hot button topic with, baseball, all the way from the very top all the way, down. I mean, I see it with some of, my kids are 11 and 8 and people are selling development. And it's like, okay, well, a lot of people talk about it, few people do it, but you guys have over the last several years put out guys after guys after guys. And so I wonder, how advantageous is it at your level to have essentially, limitless hours with players to improve that, and work on that development for those guys?
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage of going to community college.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think obviously our level's a little bit different than it is at the 4-year level at the NCAA level. My younger brother Eric is coaching up at Washington State, and we talk about it all the time. They're limited more on hours. They're limited more on the calendar, and in terms of official practice, and the windows that they can work with their guys and be out there. And I think for us, we get a great opportunity to be on the field with our players every day, to be able to put in the time and the effort, and the the time that it takes, to really, prepare guys and get them better and develop them. And we really get a great opportunity to get in the trenches with our players and, really put the time and effort that it takes to get better and get the reps that guys need. And, I think that's such a huge advantage of our level. And, certainly one of the reasons that I love coaching at this level, because you get to make a real impact, and the restraints in terms of calendar and days and those types of things. We really get to get after it with our guys, and I think that's why you see so much development at this level.
Yeah, and I mean, it's clearly an advantage, I think. And if you're kind of a borderline guy, at a 4-year level, and not considering a junior college program, I just think it's not a smart move by that particular player. But we've talked about players here, and so let's keep going there. You said that you have all this time with your current roster, you're able to do all of these things. How do you balance that with recruiting? Because recruiting for you guys is a little bit different, right? I mean, I'm sure, obviously there's the high school player, you have to know kind of at the D1 local level who might be a bounce back, right? The portal, all of that stuff comes into play for you guys. So, I mean, that seems like a full-time job in and of itself.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think, like anywhere else, like any other level, recruiting is going to be a huge piece of it. And, really having, an idea of obviously who's out there. And, like you said, I think the dynamic in terms of the recruiting process is changing everywhere. Like you said, with the transfer portal, with the changes in roster size at the Division I level, and the impact that that's having on entire recruiting classes, and players that are already in Division I programs, and players that are committed to Division I programs. And so I think, things are kind of in constant flux. And yeah, we have to do a really good job of trying to balance, where our time is spent. I think, if you ask our coaching staff, I think, we love to be on the field with our current players and the guys who are here and committed to our program. And that's where our focus is. But, it's also, with an eye down the road of replacing these guys and filling the roles and filling the shoes of our current players. So I think it's a balance, and just, I think with the constant state of flux that, the college baseball is in right now, it's about being able to adapt to that, and being able to, to shift and change. And I think our coaching staff's done a good job of that as things continue to evolve.
Yeah, and with that evolution, part of the kind of the underlying messaging, at least on social media and conversations you have with people is, JUCO baseball is about to get really, really elevated here in California. I mean, we know how good it is, but it's going to be elevated. Are you starting to see that with everything that's going on at the 4-year level, kind of the transfers, guys reaching out, guys who maybe otherwise would have had zero interest in Cypress College, coming out of high school, let's say, now all of a sudden are reaching out saying, hey, like I'm looking for a spot to play. Are you guys seeing that trickle down effect?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, they're starting to figure out, some of the nuts and bolts of this 34-man roster now, and you're seeing a lot of Division I schools having to make decisions, and I think, they've always had to do that, right? There's always been decisions that have been had to made about players and rosters. But now with this shift to 34, yeah, I think the trickle down effect is happening. I think there's obviously less opportunities than there have been at the Division I level, and I think, for some of the guys who may have been, the 35th, 36th, 37th, 38th guy maybe on a Division I roster, those opportunities aren't going to be there anymore. And I think, some of those players who maybe would have had an opportunity to play Division I baseball somewhere, are having to figure out a different route in a different way. And I think, I've always said, I think there's a lot of ways to get to the same place. I played at Cal State Fullerton and part of some great teams. And I think some of the best players that I played with in my time there were transfers who came from junior college, who were tough and ready to play and experienced, and had a ton of at bats or a ton of innings. And I think, like you said, I think that with the portal, with you know the roster size going down, with maybe some of the eligibility stuff coming down the pipe in related to junior college. I think our level is only going to continue to evolve and get better and better and better. And it's exciting, right? As a junior college coach, I think the ability to make an impact on players and open some doors for guys. And I think it's obviously constantly evolving, but I think our level, as good as it is right now, will have a chance to become even better.
You touched on that eligibility ruling thing there a little bit, and I'm curious if you've heard anything further. Obviously, everybody's saying it's specific to this one player, and now there's another player involved. Is this something that would help or hurt the junior college experience, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think doesn't seem like anything's really set in stone yet. I think some of the seniors at the JC or at the NCAA level right now who've played a year in junior college seem like they're going to get a year of eligibility back to play in 26. And as far as I know, that's as far as it's gone so far. But if the trend continues and junior college ends up not counting toward NCAA eligibility, then I think it's going to maybe flip recruiting completely on its head. I think it will completely change the dynamic of recruiting at the 4-year level, and that hasn't happened yet. I don't know if that will happen. I think anybody saying it will or won't is probably guessing at this point.
Yeah.
But if that were to happen, I definitely think it completely changes the dynamic and the positives of going to junior college, which obviously already exist right now, only grow exponentially if the recruiting process doesn't count junior college towards your eligibility, because you're going to see guys going to junior college that get 150, 200 at bats for 2 years and then leave and go to Division I baseball as freshmen at 20 years old. So obviously that's never been a thing before. I don't know if it will be, but I guess we'll all wait and see.
I mean, it seems like so far fetched, right? But then you see this legislation or this ruling, and you're just like, holy smokes! Like maybe it's not so far. I mean, my take is that it's going to completely change the game, right? Because now you're going to, like you described, guys that are going to get 200 at bats every year for 2 years, and then still go in as freshmen. I mean, it's gonna give those late bloomers time to catch up too, and it's going to give those really good players time to get better, right? So I just think the upside of it from a baseball perspective is so like exciting for the game as a whole.
Yeah, it's I totally agree with you. If somebody would have told me that was even out there being discussed 2 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. But that's where we are right now, and so we'll see. Time will tell if any of that actually comes to fruition. But the idea that a high school senior can go to junior college, be draft eligible for 2 years, get a free education for 2 years, playing really great competition, getting coached by really good coaches, and then transfer into the 4-year level still with 4 years of eligibility remaining. I mean, it's pretty far fetched, but it seems like who knows, it could be around the corner here. So we'll I guess cross that bridge when we get there, but it's it's a crazy thought.
Yeah, paying college athletes was once far fetched too, right? And here
Right.
we are. But you said something really important there. Get a free education for 2 years, because I think there's a lot of kids in the state of California that don't understand that they can go to a JUCO for 2 years as a resident, as a graduate of a high school in California for free, right? I mean, tell us more about that.
Yeah. So we had the Promise program, and any California or graduate of a California high school can go to junior college 2 years for free. And there's things that have to happen in order to do that. Got to be a full-time student. Be taking 12 units and taking English and math in your first year, and those types of things, which our guys already do. But yeah, I mean, just the ability to, have 2 years of, free college education is a big deal for a lot of families. It's a huge cost savings, especially as, college and university tuition continues to increase. And for the vast majority of our guys, they're coming here for free for 2 years, graduating with an associate's degree, and then transferring to the 4-year level on a scholarship. And, they're looking at, not being in any debt, right? Leaving college and having a great baseball experience and school experience, and, ultimately graduating with a bachelor's degree. And, yeah, there's a lot of, really positive, beneficial things for, not only in the baseball aspect, but, for a lot of families financially. And, so it's been a great thing, for us, in terms of our players and kind of their progression into 4-year baseball.
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing you mentioned there with recruiting, and as it pertains to the high school guys, right? With the whole portal NIL, how does that impact that recruiting of high school players for you guys? Obviously, your roster better than anybody. Who's bound to move on? Who's out of eligibility? Who might get drafted or move on to a 4-year school? Obviously, with an eye on the other pieces we talked about. How does all of that come together to have an impact on your high school recruiting?
Yeah, I think it impacts it. Obviously in years past, right? You never had, the portal. Division I players, if they left as freshmen, were coming to junior colleges because they had to sit out a year if they didn't. Now that's totally changed. I think just the whole process seems a lot slower, right? In terms of, our process in the summer, because the reality of it at our level is that you don't truly know if a guy's coming to your program until he gets there the first day. Yeah. There's nowhere to sign. There's no letter of intent for us. This is a deal where it's kind of an inexact science, right? And we've had a lot of high school players over the years that were planning on coming to Cypress College that, were playing somewhere in July and early August, and were playing well, that ended up going to 4-year schools really, really late. And, we're obviously, we're excited for that player, but at the same time, we don't get that player, right? So it's sort of a balance, right? In terms of making sure that you've got your, roster filled out the way it needs to be. You have, you've filled the holes of the guys who are leaving the program. And I think for, one thing for us in terms of recruiting, we've really tried our best over a lot of years here in my time at Cypress to try to keep our numbers at a level that we feel we can develop our players. We don't have a roster limit at our level, right, in junior college. And it's not unheard of, for there to be, 60, 65, 70 players at junior colleges in the fall because we can, right? And I think philosophically for us, we've really made an effort to try to keep our numbers much lower than that, even in the fall. And I think it's worked out great for us, right, in terms of the development piece and being able to really pour our time into players. But at the same time, right, with trying to keep your numbers lower, sometimes when guys end up getting late opportunities and things like that, or end up going other places really late, you can get a little bit thin if you're not, bringing in enough guys. So the recruiting process for us is, it can be tough that way. But I think with the portal, with, the ability for guys to bounce around places, I think it's only made it tougher in terms of really trying to figure out who's out there, where your needs are. And there's just a lot of dynamics happening at the same time.
You've gone from just head baseball coach to office manager to portal watcher to
yeah.
operator on the phone. I mean, it's such a deep job, right? I mean, I don't think people really appreciate everything that you guys as head coaches for at your level put into into the position. It's pretty impressive. But so let's look ahead, right? You mentioned it earlier about, hey, you're excited about getting into January and getting things going here with your current team. What has you excited about the 2025 Chargers going into January, middle of January? Because you guys are a couple weeks away from starting.
Yeah, we're under a couple weeks away. Seems like we start earlier than everybody, which is which is kind of crazy. I when I first got here about 10 years ago, I just got finished playing at Fullerton and spent a year helping out there, and came over to Cypress, and I was shocked. Like, our season started, January 25th, and we get back on January 2nd. So it's yeah, it comes fast, for sure. And right now it's a little bit of a whirlwind, getting ready to go. But it's exciting. I'm excited about this group. Some of the experience that's coming back to it. Really, really like our group of people. And they really enjoy being around each other. Our players spend a lot of time with each other. I think we have a really quality group of people, and not just baseball players. And I think that matters a lot. I think the chemistry of our team is really strong. And I'm excited about the growth. Excited about the opportunity that a lot of players are going to get this year to go out and show what they can do, and be a part of a winning team and winning culture. And I think from the pitching standpoint, I think we're much older, much more experienced. And I think we've done a good job of addressing some of the needs that we had on the position player side, and got a really healthy mix of some experience and youth on the position player side, and just excited to go compete.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys, again, you kind of jump right into it here, right? Feet first in a couple of weeks, and then what does your non-conference schedule look like before you head into, obviously, the gauntlet that is the OEC?
Yeah, so we start on January 24th. That's when our first game is. We're playing a scrimmage, two scrimmages this weekend on Friday and Saturday against Allen Hancock and Cerritos, and then we get into it on the 24th. So yeah, I mean, we played 13 games, prior to getting into our conference slate in the beginning of March here. And yeah, I mean, I think stemming from my time at Cal State Fullerton, my playing career there, we were never scared to play the teams that were good. And I think that's part of the preparation process for getting into the conference slate. And you're going to be challenged every single day. And so yeah, we try to play some of the better programs around, in some different conferences, and down in San Diego and the South Coast Conference, and just find out where we're at, right, and see kind of where we stack up against really quality opponents. And I think that's something that we'll continue to do here, and play quality opponents, play quality people, and just throw our guys right in the fire and see what they're about, and see who wants to compete. So I think I'm really looking forward to getting into the non-conference slate, and watching our guys go out and get after it.
Take us through what the postseason is like for California junior college baseball. I think there's a lot of people that might be listening that are unfamiliar with the tournament, because it's a great tournament. And so take us through kind of what that looks like for you guys when you get accepted into the postseason.
Yeah, so you're battling to get in the postseason, and 24 teams now get into the postseason in Southern California. It's grown from 18. Used to be 18 teams, and they expanded it to 24. But essentially everybody's fighting to get to the Final Four, and for us, kind of round by round, you get a 2 out of 3 series against somebody in the first round, and if you make it through that first round, right now we kind of have a funky 3-team double elimination kind of regional type setup. It's a little bit different because you got an odd number of teams in there, but it's it's a lot of fun, right? When you get to that second round, everybody's going to be really good, and you got to play really well to get out of there. And once you do get out of there, you're going to have a 2 out of 3 against somebody else to put yourself into the Final Four. And kind of the way the Final Four set up is like a regional type of format at the D1 level, double elimination. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to be a part of. It's that's what we're all striving for every year, is to get yourself there and get your team there and go compete for a state championship. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being a part of it and getting able to compete against the best teams in Southern California.
It's like the drive to Memorial Day weekend, right? I mean, that's
Yep, that's exactly right. Exactly
great
right.
tournament. Great tournament. Well, Huddy, man, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing some insight and obviously talking about your club this year and giving us your perspective on a few other topics there. So, I really appreciate you doing this and making some time for us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Les, and appreciate all that you do for amateur baseball and everything else, man. You guys are the best.
I appreciate that, Huddy. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Les.